Here.
Mick.
Here.
Stefan. Here. Norhead.
Yes.
We have a quorum, you may proceed.
Okay, I want to draw attention to the posted open meeting act, literature in the back, and we will do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to do some, most of you don't have an agenda anyway, so we're going to move some things around. A lot of business to take care of tonight. The first thing is that we need to appoint a new council member. And I have asked several people, and I have been accepted by Ira Rader to sit on the council. So I need an motion, if anybody would like to do that, to...
Actually, Mayor, you make the appointment and then someone else makes the motion.
Okay, so I just ask you for your approval, right? So I make the motion, I make the appointment, you make the approval. There you go.
I'll move that we approve our agreement.
I'll second.
Roll call is Larry,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
and Arlene. So can we see her? Arlene, can you come up and play? Hang on, folks, this is all new, so we're prepared. We're probably going to move you eventually, but tonight she's fine. Okay. Okay. In the meantime, while we're waiting for her to do the oath, we need to appoint a new chairman of the council. And the regulations, the code of Crofton says that the person who has served the longest time-wise moves into that chair. So that would be Mr. Dominic. And Don has accepted that. And do we need a vote?
No, because it's automatic according to the statutes.
Yep. Okay. So we're going to have you take the oath of office in a minute. Okay? I'm trying to run through this, and I'm changing things around on the schedule. We have people here that want to get done, and they've got 2 meetings to go to tonight, so I'm trying to switch things around a little bit.
Thank you all. Okay.
There. Can she go ahead and do that? Can you do that on hers? Yours? Don's got the oath. Okay. So, what we've done in the past is just basically I'll hold this where you just read the oath.
I, Ira Rader, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the office of the City Council member according to the law and to the best of my ability. And I further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence, and that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence. So help me God.
Welcome. Okay, the next, find my place here. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is, to move into executive session immediately. I need a motion for the purpose of the litigation with the Hendricks contract.
So moved.
I wonder, for your information, the lawsuit with the Henderson has pretty much been settled. The paperwork is still in the process of being put together, and the council is going to have a special meeting Wednesday night to approve the settlement term agreement. And so I don't think there's any need tonight to go into executive session since we'll have that special meeting next Wednesday to go over the terms and conditions of the settlement. And the meeting will be publicized, everybody's welcome to come. The terms of the settlement will be explained, and if anybody has any questions at that time, we'll certainly answer those questions at that time. But as far as tonight is concerned, I don't think there's any real need to go.
Happy with your
All right. The attorney that's handling the matter has scheduled a telephone conference to explain the settlement to the councilman. And so for that purpose only, we would probably need to go into executive
Yeah,
session.
just a quick one. We were to call her right now. Okay. So we do need a motion
Motion to go into
I'll make the motion, to go into executive session.
to discuss the litigation.
I'll second it.
And roll call vote, then I'll call you first.
Yes.
Arlene? Yes. Don?
Yes.
And Larry?
Yes.
So we'll move into executive right there at 6:27. Okay. So now we just make one short announcement out of that meeting that, in essence, as Mr. McNally said, the agreements have been made. We will have a meeting 1 week from tonight, 6:30, when the vote will take place, and in the meantime, all of the pertinent information will be publicized, and everybody will see it and come to the meeting, see what everyone. So 1 week from tonight, 6:30, we'll have a special meeting. We'll have that advertised.
That's Monday night, right?
Monday night. Yeah. 6:30. Do we have any kind of motion made? We don't, we just have a meeting. Okay. Yeah. I know it is. Okay, I think that I promised somebody some quick time here. Mike? Mike Lammers with Cedar Knox Public Power has a presentation.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Do you need that, Mike?
I'll just try and speak up. Everybody hear me all right? I'll try and speak up a little louder. If you guys have questions, you can use the mic. First off, thanks for your time tonight. We've been making it around doing all these lease agreements with our towns. And we've been kind of using it as a general thing to just kind of go over Cedar Knox in general and what we're doing, public power and all that, all in one visit, and get out to meet some of our councilmen, Had the pleasure of meeting all you guys, and now you have a new one, so congratulations. And the nature of time, I'm supposed to be down in Wausau, do the same thing here by about 8, so I'm going to try and cruise through this pretty fast, and we'll keep her moving. But by all means, if you have questions, jump in. First off, what is public power? It's actually Public Power Month. That's why we're actually wearing our buttons. It's a community, locally owned, nonprofit public utility as a political subdivision of the state of Nebraska. We were established back in 1937. We celebrated our 80th year a couple years ago, but nonprofit. So where we differ from other states, you go over into, say, Iowa and places like that, they're IOUs, investor-owned utilities. They have investors they pay dividends to and take their cut from it. Nebraska was set up as a full nonprofit public utility, so we don't take any of that. We're made up of 9 elected board members from 3 sub-districts. This is about Highway 84 that goes through Hardington. North of that is District 1, south is District 2, and east half, or the part of Knox County, is District 3. We have 9 board members, 3 from each one of those. The 3 guys in the front row here are all from District 3. Phil Nielsen's down in the Bloomfield area. Terry Bunker just west of town, and Randy Carlson here down in the Wausau, Rolling Hills Golf Course area. So they're your voice of representation for Knox County. And every 2 years we have a cycle. Every one of those comes up every 2 years for an election, at election time. A little bit about us. We're about 7,400 plus meters, about 4,930 residential, 1,200 plus irrigation. Remainder of that is seasonal, commercial, and then a couple large power. So your seasonals like pasture pumps, grain bins, electric fence places, phone boosters, things like that. So a good chunk of it, as you can see, is residential and irrigation. We're made up of 26 full-time employees, about 2,000 miles of line right at it, and about 130 plus of sub-transmission line, kind of like the one we're just building here on the edge of town. That would be sub-transmission, about 69,000 volt line. So a little bit about us. What are the pillars of public power? So when you look at public power, if you read any of my newsletters or they end up in your garbage, whatever, the public power pillars that you often see are safety right away is the number one for us. Keeping our public safe is obviously a huge priority to us. We spend a lot of money on safety. We run ads, newspapers, news articles, radio ads. Today's farm equipment just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and every year we see more lines get tore down. We just had one last week with an auger. It's a very dangerous thing, as you can imagine, getting into electrical line. We have just come out with some stickers, actually. Mary actually will hand them out. They're vinyl stickers. We've been handing them out all across the district, all the CBAs, the John Deeres, the Steffen over here, International. They're vinyl stickers. As much as they're a reactive sticker of what to do when they get in the power line, we look at it more as a proactive approach of when you stick it on the window in that tractor or excavator or whatever, it tells you what to do when you do get into a power line. But at least it'll make you think, where is the power line in this field or around where I'm working? They're vinyl stickers. You pull them off, wash the windows, and stick them back on. We've really been hitting these hard across the district. If it saved one person from getting into a power line, it was well worth their time and money. Employee safety. Every month we have a safety meeting. We bring in a presenter almost 8 of those months at least, a couple hours. Every time it's a different topic. CPR, first aid, all trained. And we travel a lot of times to Kearney, Grand Island for employee meetings on safety. I'm a big safety guy. I came up as a lineman. I worked on the crew. Not that we were bad in safety by no means, but you don't want any injuries whatsoever when dealing with electricity. One time might be the last, and it's just not somewhere we're willing to cut corners. Affordable. Obviously, rates are a big part of our company. We do a lot of work to keep our rates. We do cost of service studies every 3 to 4 or 5 years to have studies done to make sure all of our rate classes are set accordingly to where they should be. We're not subsidizing one commercial rate to a residential or a irrigation to a different rate somewhere else. And base charges covers our fixed charges and fixed cost of that. We constantly look at these. Rates are not an easy thing. They're complicated. We probably have 20, 30 rates in general. But we're constantly looking at those and working, trying to do our due diligence and our fiduciary duty to keep them set properly so nobody's paying extra where they shouldn't be. Controlling costs, we're always looking to be efficient, for operations on trucks and processes we do in the office, on software. We're technology nowadays advancing. Just because technology is cool doesn't mean it makes sense for us to dive into everything. It's got to make sense for you guys, our customers, and make sense for us to be more efficient and control our costs. Lastly is reliable. Today's day and age, everybody's dependable. We expect when we throw that light switch that the power's got to be there. We got people that work from home now. It ain't like years ago. We could just shut people off during the day and work on maintenance. This whole town today, you guys probably don't know it, never seen a blink or nothing. We actually backfed you from a distribution line on a different substation the whole town today. We're putting in a transmission switch right out here by the substation. The whole town right now is on that backfeed. That's the world we live in today. We just can't take outages. If we wouldn't have had that backfeed, you'd have probably been looking at least a full day or part of most of a night outage for us to cut that switch in, because there's no other way to do it unless we bring in a portable substation. And that's a costly deal. So reliability is a big deal. We've expended a lot of dollars into this town. We'll get into that in a little bit, but we got 3 different backfeeds into this town. Reliability is just something we have to live with in today's day and age. Convenience and new age renewables. Convenience is getting to be a big term in our industry. People don't operate their operations the way they used to. Farmers, diesel motors, they don't want to go out and change oil and worry about the motor starting and the battery. They want to go out and push the button and they just want it to run. They don't want to service their motor and that kind of stuff. And that's why over the years we've seen a lot of them go that way. They're still out there, yes, but we've seen that convenience of everybody wants the power. You know, it's electronics. How many of you got kids in your house? Everyone's got a device in their hands. When the power goes out, they still think they're okay until the Wi-Fi box isn't working. And they realize they got no internet. And then everybody's screaming. So just a different world we live in, but safe, reliable, and affordable are big deals for us. On the reliability part, Nebraska as a whole is like #1 in the United States for reliability. Cedar Knox in particular, we're 99.99% reliable in 2017 or 18, one of those years. But that's where we run about every year. So if you look at our total hours in the year per meter, we're off less than 100,000th of a percent of the time. It's like 1.6 hours per meter on average a year. That's very good. Hard for many to say that they're that reliable. Improvements. So when we went back and took over the town in 2000 from NPPD in their deal, I looked back at what we've all done since the year 2000. First thing we did when we took over, we went to the substation here in town. We took out old fuses, old bus work, and all the old equipment. We put in new breakers, sectionalizers, new regulators to regulate the voltage steady, all new bus work in there, some automated meter reading equipment. Kind of gave that substation a complete overhaul right out of the gate. Like I just said, the distribution backfeed in the town that's feeding you right now, we built from a mile west of town down along the highway on the distribution that feeds from the Crofton rural substation. 3-phase circuit into town. We set down a 2,000 kVA transformer. We stepped that voltage down so we can feed the entire town on a different substation backfeed on our distribution. That was a big cost for us, a mile line right out of the gate. Sub-transmission line, I'm sure all of you have went east of town and seen the line crossing the highway right by the cemetery. That comes from the Beaver Creek Cemetery down here to our substation in town. It's a 5.5 mile, 69 build. Tomorrow we're cutting in with a crane, we're hanging the switch. We'll get that cut over hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow, if not Wednesday for sure. What that does is kind of creates a loop feed for us up here to the lake substation, over to the substation on Highway 81 when you go to Yankton, and then back down toward Fordyce. And it makes a circle for us in the middle of our district there. So we can feed it from either direction. So we can feed it over here from the substation by the wind farms out by Bloomfield. We call it the Bloomfield substation. Or we can feed it from the Hardington one over south of Hardington. 2 different 115s that go down to 69. And then we get down to your guys' substations in the towns and in the rurals. So it also gives us 2 115 feeds. That's probably a little confusing, but it gives us a lot of different options, especially in ice storms. You get south of town here and especially west, we have a lot of ice issues. We can switch that area out when it's bad and just isolate it so our older line is not even in the mix, let alone if we have troubles on one section, we can switch it to a different one. It's a big deal to have. So that kind of gives us our 3 backfeeds into town. New residential development areas. I know that up on Sharon Street, that new housing addition, we buried all that underground in that area. I believe we did another section up there, and we're looking at some other projects, but all new underground and transformers in those development areas. We've upgraded some conductors in town to help maintain a steady voltage. in several areas where we see that showing up in our voltage reads. Street light maintenance and LED conversions. We take care of your street lights in general, yes, as maintenance, but if we roll a truck today's day and age, if the light ain't working and the bulb's not coming on, we're gonna put up an LED. We're working on that conversion. The day will come where we'll just go change them all, but it ain't worth us to change the bulb basically anymore. If I roll the truck and 2 guys, my cost of fixed cost is there in the truck, so we just change the whole light. LEDs use a third or quarter of the power. However, the light itself is right now about 2 to 3 times as much. So we can't just afford to go do them all, but that time's coming, the lights keep coming down. And they've been getting better. I'm sure you guys have all been to Menards, Walmart, wherever. There's aisles and aisles of light bulbs. Our industry is the same way. There's 20 different models of LED lights. And we're figuring out which ones work well, which ones don't. We've kind of settled on a couple that are working pretty good. So we'll keep up maintaining those. AMI, or automated metering infrastructure. In 2010, we went out and put AMI in every substation. So we used to put a guy on foot, myself included, got to help a few times in the winter when the snow was deep, to go out and read every single meter in the town of Crofton and every town that we had in our district. In 2010, we put in automated meter reading or infrastructure to allow us to read those remotely. So we got equipment in every substation in our district with communications to it. We can go out, read a meter, and pull that data back and shoot it right into the office. No more reading meters manually. This was a huge thing. As much as we thought it was just going to be for meter reading in itself, that was only a small piece of the pie. Outages now, we know right the line sections that are out. So when we get an outage, it doesn't alert us that somebody's out, but as soon as we know it, we can go out and check our system and see right where the outages are. So instead of us driving to a substation and starting there and working our way down the line, figuring out to the next section, trying to isolate, calling people, we know right away after running the job roughly right where it's at. Sometimes a wire burns off and we could literally drive almost right to it. Way more efficient on our storms and outages. We have ice issues or snow issues. We're not getting trucks stuck when we don't need to. We know where we got to get to. So it's just been way better for our storms and outages. Voltage reads, we read voltage at least once a week, sometimes more. If it's 110 degrees out, we're going to read it 4 or 5 o'clock when we're at peak and see where everybody's at. And so a lot of times we'll find transformers. I was talking to Larry the other day. He had one down by his shop. Transformer was overloaded. Found out we got 5, 6 neighbors on it. Everybody's pulling more than they used to. Transformer's overloaded and they're seeing lower voltage. You guys probably would never know the difference, but we see it. So we can go out and catch those things before we burn up a $2,000 transformer or $1,000 transformer before it ever happens. Same thing on the oversize. If it's oversized, we're paying losses. So we get things sized right. We see where our loading issues are on lines. If we need to put something in the work plan to stay ahead of it on progress. Blinks, every Monday morning we read our whole system. See if any lines have been blinking. Blinks get kind of technical down to the sine wave, how long the cycle lasts to see if it's actually a blink. But if we see a whole line blinking, we generally can see that. We're able to go out, see if a tree's on the line, dead critter up on the pole, flashing the line when it rains or something. Again, we catch it before the line ever goes off. Saves us a lot of running around and outages. Usage, we can see usages. So I can't tell if you're running a toaster or the TV in your house, but what I can tell is when load comes up and stays where it is and then drops back down. This sounds pretty minor, but we catch houses that are rental houses. People move out and we flag it. The usage is all of a sudden came up and stays on. We'll call the guy and say, hey, your house is using X amount nonstop, 24/7. Well, there's nobody living there. So we go there and baseboard heaters on. For nobody shut them off. It's kicked on when it got cold and they're running nonstop. Farm places, cattle on the place, and that's all they got. Load picks up, runs nonstop. Well has a hole in the water line. Water pumps running nonstop. Cattle knock the pipe off a tank in a pasture, nonstop. Likewise, we see when usage goes down, or if the meter ain't answered at all. Power went out on a pasture. Cattle would have not even had water. We catch that before they even know. A lot of cases on irrigations, one phase or one fuse down, we go out and fix it before anybody even knows. You know, it's just a whole different world having that data. Billing side, read in, read outs on apartments and rental houses. We used to have to drive there, read the meter, call it in, drive back, whatever. Now we just hit the button, read it, brings it back. That historical data all has a huge value for us too, and looking forward at our rates. Rate studies are getting even more technical. They can look at peaks per house and stuff and see what people are using and get our rates set even more properly. So a lot of stuff in there, but EMI was a huge improvement for us. So new age of technology, I'll breeze through this one pretty fast in the nature of time. Energy efficiency, we now have LED. Geothermal is extremely efficient on a new house. High efficiency heat pumps. If you don't know it, you up your SEER rating a couple SEERs, you can really get payback in as little as 2 or 3 years on heat pumps, especially if you're on a forced air unit. Smart appliances are just getting crazy. You can look at a video on your phone and see what's in your refrigerator now. See if you forgot milk or if there's milk in the fridge. You got washers and dryers talking to your phone to tell you when cycles are done. It's nuts. Where that'll go, who knows? But it's all in the nature of efficiency anymore. Electric vehicles. Don't see a lot of them around here. I'm here to tell you they're coming. Chevy and Ford are announcing 20 to 30 models apiece. I think 30 some for Ford next year and 20 some for Chevy. There will be a pickup model coming. They're out on each coast. Those guys love or hate California. They're always the first to dive in. But they're working out the kinks. You know, the mileage, everybody says, well, it can't go so far. Well, they're getting that up to 220, 240 miles per charge. Cold weather and that can adapt to that, but what it does do is somebody like in Crofton that drives to Yankton every day and back, it's your daily routes, and they are cheaper per gallon, especially when you have a power company that has low rates. So they are coming. Common vehicle has over 2,000 moving parts. Electric vehicles have less than 20. So the breakdowns and that type of stuff, it's just, they're so much more efficient. We actually have a statewide one that MPPD shares. We had it in for our anniversary a couple of years ago. Electric vehicles, but you go drive one, it's pretty amazing. Absolutely quiet. Every feature in it, heated seats, radio, you name it, everything you've got in your cars today. I do think they'll become a part. That changes our world. If everybody in town comes home at exactly 5 o'clock and everybody slams that plug in, what do you think our grid's going to do? We're already working on that. We're putting battery packs in garages so it trickle charges all day long. So when you come home, want to charge your car fast, you plug in the batteries charge your vehicle, and they take the trickle charge. Or there might be rates to where you charge it between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. versus charging it at 4 or 5 o'clock. Those types of things that we deal with on a daily basis at meetings across the state and the nation for that matter. So electric vehicles will be coming. So a little bit on rates. Got here, probably a little hard to read from your distance. We got Wyoming down here. This is cents per kilowatt hour. A few years ago, I guess I'll back up, not even a few years ago, a few months ago, some senators in Nebraska said that, well, you can't deny that states around us, neighboring states, have, Nebraska has rates increasing faster than the neighboring states. And a couple of the guys down in Lincoln said, I don't really know if I believe that statement. So they went out and they researched this, and this is the slides they came out with. 2010 through 17, this is Wyoming's rate. Starts at about 6.25 cents per kilowatt hour. You got Iowa here, Nebraska's the dotted line, Missouri and South Dakota. Gray line is Kansas, and you got U.S. on top here. The blue, dark blue is the U.S. average, and the gray one is Fort Kansas gets on top on both of these. So you see roughly where Nebraska is. Well, Wyoming being on the bottom, what does Wyoming have out in Wyoming? Any wild guesses?
Coal.
Coal. Unlimited resource of coal. Wyoming has some unlimited resource of coal, but they have some of the best coal in the United States. So they're sitting on it. They have no transportation costs to run their generation. Makes Wyoming very tough. When you look at these rates, these are all sector rates. So if I took every rate at Cedar Knox and threw it into one bundle, so all rates combined, all right? When you look at Iowa, Iowa's actually below Nebraska. What did Iowa start roughly back in 2010? At night you see blinking across the sky. Wind farms. What Iowa did, in my opinion of this graph, back then, when Iowa started flooding their market with wind, they went out to large commercial places. So the Walmarts of the world and the big industrial users over in Iowa. And they went out and locked in large contracts with them, PPA agreements. And they were being subsidized at about 1 cent or 2 per kilowatt hour. So they could actually go out and underbid the market by 1 cent or 2 and make it back up because they were getting subsidized. So they locked in a lot of those large industrial and commercial businesses. So it brought down their commercial and industrial rates a lot. And when you do that on an industrial with a large amount of usage, it makes a big swing. So when you combine that with all other rates, they actually came in below Nebraska. See, Nebraska is averaging about right at 9 cents. They're a little under that. So, however, when we look at residential, we flip the tide a little bit. Now we got Nebraska on the bottom, then Wyoming, then South Dakota, Missouri, then actually Colorado, and then actually Iowa's ending up above them now. They've been on an uptick. Kansas on top, the U.S. average, dark blue again. So when you look at residential rate, Iowa's wind didn't really affect their residential rate. The homeowners didn't get the benefit out of the wind over there. They're actually considerably higher. Nebraska in the whole is right at about 11 cent average total, so for residential rate. So the next question I always usually get is, where is Cedar Knox Public Power on that chart? So Nebraska as a whole is about 9th nationally. To be honest, Cedar Knox is probably closer down here, 9 or under. We're about 2 cents under the Nebraska average. I'm proud to say, as all the REA systems across the state, Cedar Knox has either been the lowest residential rate in the state or one of the lowest in the last few years, and quite a while back actually. Top 5, at least, in the last probably 5 to 10 years. So we've done very well. And that's not a testament to That's a testament to the predecessors before me, our directors, the help of Ford, but we have a good diversity. We have irrigation, we have some large industrials, we got a good mix of people. You get out in the sand hills, they build 7, 8, 10 miles for one customer. We average like 3 point something per mile, 3 point some customers per mile line. It makes a big difference. When you look back at the all rates combined, we actually do beat Iowa just a little bit here, so we're somewhere between here. So we've been all rates combined, we're still below both of them. 2 cents probably don't sound a lot per kilowatt hour. I'll just take 1 cent. 1 cent doesn't sound like a lot. If I took 1 cent and added it to a bill, an average house might use 2,000 kilowatt hours. That's $20 a month, $240 a year. If I times that by 7,500 meters, that's 1.8 million in my budget. That's what 1 cent per kilowatt hour does. 1 cent's a big difference. When I show you a residential rate that has a 2 cent different gap to our residential rates, that is a good rate. There's a lot of people in Nebraska that would love to have our rates down at 9 or 100 cents per kilowatt hour. So, good rates, and we're proud of them. We work hard to keep them there. So the reason we're here tonight, lease contract, 20-year contract, comes due for renewal at every 15. Lease agreement, the city gets to approve their 12% lease is what they get out of it. 12% to the city is approximately $98,000 in 2018. So we collect 12% from the town customers and write the check back to Crofton. We don't charge an admin fee. We don't do anything for that. We just collect it as per the agreement back in the 40s and 50s all across the state, that we would collect that as part of the lease agreement and give it back to the town. They can spend that however they want in their general funds or anywhere else. There's also a gross revenue tax, 5% annually that goes to the county. We do take care of that and collect that as well. So a total of 17% increase in town versus our rural customers. But as these guys know as councilmen, those are funds that help the town of Crofton and every other town that very likely has about the same percentage. That helps you with your streets and sewer and water and everything else. So that's about the amount you get on this. A little bit on lease information. I showed you that yellow box earlier. That's our charter territory. All of Cedar County, about half of Knox. Per the Power Review Board of the state of Nebraska that was set up originally, Crofton is not an independent service territory. Therefore, by the state statute, it says you must take service from the provider in your territory. That territory is us. So in my opinion, this is much more almost a formality other than them wanting to adjust their 12% up or down if they so choose. Hasn't moved in 40, 50 years, but that is what was set up by the state statutes down in Lincoln, and the Power Review Board dictates those charter territories. I can't just go across our charter territory any direction to the next power company and say, I want to serve somebody on that side of the road. We have to apply an application down to the Power Review Board in Nebraska. They have to see that we both agree to do it. They got to stamp it and then say, yes, you can do that. It's not just something you can go build line wherever you want, serve wherever you want. Everything has to go through the Power Review Board. 2005, In 2000, actually, MPPD came to us, said anything under, I believe it was 500 meters, might have been 700, and said, any town in your territory, 500 meters or less, we're going to turn over to whoever's the charter territory in that area. For us, that was then us in 2000. In 2005, that contract came up. You guys re-signed another 20-year. It's due at 15. That would be December 31st this year. The contract is really pretty streamlined. It's nothing too complicated. We use it all across the state. Mary can hand out copies actually, and she'll walk through a little bit of it. If you have any questions when we get done, feel free to ask on that or anything else. So, if there are any questions, why she's thinking that?
Okay, so this is just a copy of the electric system lease that we're proposing. Like Mike said, it's pretty streamlined and pretty much operates the same as the current operating agreement that we have now. So we have a distribution system operation agreement in effect right now that was signed September 1st, 2005, where this electric system lease would take the place of that. Just go through the articles real quickly and touch on the high points. Article 1 is a 20-year term again with a 5-year exit strategy, just like this current one is. Article 2 states that the city owns all electric distribution facilities and within the corporate city limits described in Exhibit A, which Cheryl, you're the only one that has Exhibit A on yours right now.
Okay.
And then it is the city's responsibility to update those boundaries if they're ever modified. Article 3 just states that we are going to, the city will lease the possession of the electric system to the district. Article 4 talks about rates and the lease fee. So the rates are set by the directors of our district, and they are in terms of Chapter 70, Article 6 of Nebraska State Statute, basically stating that rates will be fair, reasonable, and just. The lease fee of 12% will be added to customer accounts within the city limits. The city does retain the right to change that lease fee on an annual basis, not to exceed 12%, and must give 90 days notice if you're going to change it from 12%. Article 5 talks about how we will collect that lease fee and then pay it quarterly to the city like we do currently. Article 6 is the district shall maintain and construct any additions necessary for service. Any materials that are removed in connection with that maintenance become property of the district. Article 7, upon termination of the lease, the district shall surrender the electric system basically in as good a condition as it is now or better. Reasonable wear and tear are accepted. Upon surrender, though, of the electric system, the city shall pay the district the cost of those capital improvements made less depreciation value. Article 8 is taxes. Basically, we'll collect those gross revenue taxes, state and city sales taxes, and turn those over to the appropriate entity. Article 9 is on insurance. Except for negligence of the employees and agents of the city, the district agrees that the city shall not be liable for loss or damages to the district. And then also that the district will insure the facilities and have general liability insurance, just like we do on the rest of our electric facilities throughout the district. Article 10 states that basically outages will happen due to acts of God, weather, vehicle accidents, and that we're under no duty to give prior notice on those outages. We do generally try to give advance notice on any planned outages, of course. Article 11 just states that we have the right to access the property of the cities to construct, operate, and maintain power lines. Article 12 is the indemnification, stating that the city shall release, indemnify, defend upon the Cedar Acts for and from and against any and all liabilities of any nature, with the exception of gross negligence or willful misconduct on the part of Cedar Acts. And then the last one, Article 13, just talks that we may assign this agreement in whole or part if we should ever become merged or become part of another public power entity. That is a real quick overview of the contract.
Real quick over everything. Any questions on all that? Yes, sir.
Mike, what does Cedar Knox actually pay Crofton for the use of the system?
The lease, the collection of the lease fee, the 12%.
But that's not paid by Cedar Knox, that gets passed through to the
Yeah, it's a
customer.
direct pass through. We just collect it and pass it through.
So Cedar Knox actually doesn't pay the city of Crofton one dime for the use of the system, is that correct?
Nope, City of Crofton owns their poles and wires. We simply just operate it and maintain it for them.
So you get all of the profit from all of the citizens of Crofton, and you pay.
First of all, we're a nonprofit, so any profit we get goes straight back into margins.
Yes, but isn't that like asking me to use my car for 15 years at no cost at all? And then to add insult to injury, when you turn the car back after 15 years, you make me pay for all the repairs that you put in that car for the past 15 years?
Actually, Cedar Knox, I just built a 5.5-mile line at $1.1 million. That's at my cost.
But that isn't in Crofton, Nebraska. That's for your entire system. Is that correct?
Not entirely, because a lot of that line is due to the direct liability of the city of Crofton. That was the intention of our line to build.
But that's your transmission line.
It is. It's our
That's not the
sub-transmission.
distribution line in Crofton, right? I would strongly recommend the council defer this action for further study.
By the Power Review Board in Nebraska and the state statute down there, there is no right to serve your own town. You guys do not own your charter or territory. You're not an independent service territory.
Your contract that you have right now says that Crofton has a service area, and you also attached exhibit showing Crofton service area.
City boundary service area, not an independent service territory for electrical service.
It said Crofton, Nebraska service area.
If you go on the Nebraska Power Review Board website, and we've been down to Lincoln, I've met with those folks,
Well, I talked to Tim Texel,
so have I.
and it's my understanding that this was allocated to Crofton years ago, and that then it went MPD operating system, and that has never been changed since then.
Well, I have the current MPPD contract and our last one from Cedar Knox that says we have the right to serve the city of Crofton.
If you don't have a contract, you can't serve Crofton because you don't own the system.
We own all the upgrades we've done in the last 20 years.
And if the city takes over the system, we'll pay for those.
All those appreciated values.
Now, the contract also says that you're going to provide to the city every year a list of the improvements that you made to the city during the past year. Have you done that?
Not to my knowledge. But according to my legal counsel, he says that you do not have the right to serve because you are not an independent service territory.
Well, the city certainly has the right to go to the Power Review Board and ask if that service area is allocated. Would you agree to that?
The city has the right to do whatever they want.
Well, we talked to council in Omaha, David Levy, Barrett Home, and they said that the city has an absolute right to serve customers within its town and its zoning area.
That is not what my legal counsel has told me, and I've talked to the Nebraska Power Review Board down there with Tim Texel as well.
My recommendation is
This
to
is-
the same to do.
This has never been done, it's been tried at the Power Review Board. There's never been one overturned in 40-plus years. 50 if you want to go all the way back. To their knowledge, there's never been one that is not a charter territory, that Crofton does not exist as of what I'm told right now, that has ever been turned back over to the city. Because when you put the pencil to paper for the dollars of what it would cost for you just to simply start up, there is no way the Power Review Board is going to stamp that. Because it just don't pencil out for you people of Crofton. Do you know how many dollars that's going to take?
Well, you say that, but what I'm saying is that the council should be further study to determine whether or not it is cost effective to do it.
They have that right, but I don't see the need to.
The lease is not due until the December 31st. And that gives us basically all of October, November, and December, and I think that we need
The
to hold
contract
some
goes for
meetings.
another 5 years. The city has 5 years to determine what we want to do.
And then it's back to the drawing board on the contract if it expires.
Right, but we have some time before that contract.
You got a couple months there.
Yeah. So,
You know,
I might
I've done a
recommend.
lot of calculating on this. I mean, don't quote me on numbers, but you're talking millions to start up.
going back to the original question, what does Cedar Knox pay the citizens of Crofton for use of Crofton's distribution
The
system?
lowest rates in the state in reliability. That's what we serve. That's what public power was intended for in Nebraska, was to provide the citizens of Nebraska lowest power possible in the state. And that brings in economic development, that brings in commercial business.
I agree, but still, you're using Crofton's distribution system and paying them nothing for it.
And every town across the whole state is. It's
And
intended
that
that
makes
way.
it right?
To keep the lowest possible cost, yes. We don't make money on it. It's not for profit. If I could have a perfect balanced budget, at the end of the day, I'd have zero. Because I give it everything I can to the customer to keep that rate
I've
as low
heard
as I
that
can.
argument for the last 50 years.
Worked pretty well, hasn't it?
Not
You
for
know-
the customers involved, no.
Well, I would say it would. I would say it has.
It has for the city of Neely, because when we got out of the the contract with MPPD, since that time, we have made a net profit of $30,000 a month.
That's not on the rate. Because their rates are higher than ours. That's on something else.
That's not on the rates, that's on the demand charge, which we don't pay.
Who's paying?
Nobody.
So then how are you saving?
We don't pay demand charge because we have our own generation. If you have your own generation, you don't pay demand charge. And in Neely, that's $53,000 a month.
That's pretty much going against the public power model of Nebraska.
Well, so what? It's for the benefit of the citizens of the city of Neely and would be for the benefit of the citizens of the city of Crofton.
I
You
look
want
at,
us to pay to serve Crofton, that's gonna have to go back into the rates against the citizens of Crofton.
yeah, so if you want me to raise my rate 2 cents per kilowatt hour, then I'll give them a check.
I'll say no. I run the elevator. We don't need to raise it.
That's virtually, somebody's got to pay for it, somewhere, some way.
I think we need a town meeting.
I just want to go on record, Cheryl, that if you choose to go down this road, Cedar Knox will oppose this to the end.
Sure, I understand that.
So you'll go to the Power Review Board. If it gets denied, you'll file an appeal. This will go to district court. The last time this went through, the utility racked up about $75,000 in legal fees, and it's going to get drawn out 2 to 3 years. I just want you to know the
Gotcha.
road you're heading down.
I want, I guess I don't know if I have that right to recommend, but I would like to give us a chance to do more research and more study and more input from the public, and know more about what's going on. And we talked about this, and we've got a little
Put
time.
some time in.
Yeah.
I just want you to know, I strongly feel this is not good for the citizens of
And we're
Crofton.
not, and I'm not gonna exclude you, Mike. I mean, I'll make
If
sure
you have more
can-
questions, by all
you
means,
can-
let me know. Anybody
Yeah,
in
we'll
this room can
have
reach out.
you
I
come
got
in
a
and talk
question.
to
You
us
said that we
again.
gotta, if we go down this other road, and what you guys all put in around Crofton, we'd have to buy it from you at a depreciation thing. So all these new lines, as you're putting in, are not depreciated at this point, they're brand new lines. So what you're sticking in here, we'd have to buy them from you, because otherwise you'd be tearing them out and taking them to somebody else. Is that correct?
You'd have to buy them. All the work we've done here, so that new addition on Sharon Street, all that appreciated value, we're gonna pay
But
for
this new
it.
line that you're putting in over here,
This new one right now, this sub-transmission line, as Jim said, that's gonna be debatable, because that's our transmission line, it's not
That's not in the
yours.
city. It'd have to be stuff that's in the city.
But again, that's probably gonna end up in the court to decide if that's a stranded asset on our part or not. Another piece that's gonna be argued about and fought over. And that's over $1 million power line. So you think I'm just gonna let that go when I provided that to be reliable for the city of Crofton? No.
Oh, we don't want to fight too bad. We just want to know all the facts.
I don't blame you, you're doing your job if you are.
Yep.
I just want you to be aware of the dollars. And even if you can get out and look into this generation, $30,000 is an absolute peanut compared to what you're gonna be looking at to start up
To start
and
out.
run a city municipal.
And I think Jim said that it takes more to
I
start
know
out.
exactly what it costs, and I know exactly what the benefits are. I have full financial information,
Okay.
and you're wrong.
Okay.
So we know there's a big startup there, and so in the interest of you getting to your next meeting and us moving on with a whole ton of things to do, can I just recommend that we table this at this point? Okay, we'll do that. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get Kelly. I'm just grabbing off this because we've just messed this up and I'm gonna try and do these faster and get them out of here. We need to open a hearing, I believe, is that correct? So I need a motion to open the hearing. To hear, liquor license, for the liquor license, for Kelly, I need a motion to open a public hearing. Do I-
You just open the
I just open it, okay.
and take comments from the people.
Okay, so the hearing is open. Anybody that wants to talk for Kelly or against Kelly or whatever, you've got a chance here. Any comments from the public? Kelly's here to apply for a permanent liquor license, which everybody has, but they just have to be done every so often. And if I'm correct on this, I think this is a nice tidbit. I don't know, I don't know these fees to work. This is the fees that the city charges for Kelly to have that liquor license, our school gets. So yay for liquor license,
Yeah.
right? Did you want to say
Can
something?
we talk about his rates?
Yeah.
People say it's a
We're gonna,
and stuff like
at
this.
50 cents a drink comes to the city. Any comments?
That's for sports stuff.
Yeah, but
That's
for
more
stuff.
stuff,
I
yeah.
used to be partners with Joanne for 6-7 years, and recently I took over the business at probably last year. So now I can reapply for a liquor license for Stop Bar LLC instead of Crofton for Stop. Right now I have a temporary liquor license, could be to December 5th, and then I was told by the state and Kathy that I had to, be on the agenda and come down and apply for a permit.
So this is your permanent?
This is for applying for a permit.
The permanent, so, okay. Can we just vote to
Somebody
approve
make
it?
a motion to
Yep.
approve.
Can we have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license for the Sports Stop LLC.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Don, seconded by Larry. Arlene?
Yes.
Isla?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
And Don?
Yes.
Okay. Pass?
You good?
Yeah, very good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I can go back to work.
I thought you might be the
Yep, yep.
If the doors close, you're already losing money.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Okay, so then we have, is our gentleman here from the Wednesday? Okay. Let's go back to Baseball Association. Is there anybody here representing Baseball Association? Okay. We have the contract, but we just need to approve.
Okay.
Yeah, you all have the baseball thing in your packet. This was the lease that has been set up for some time. Hopefully you've had time to kind of look at it. Basically what happens is, the Baseball Association mows the inner part of the field during the summer, and they do some repairs. They put the line on that front page. You see what they've done. They've added some good stuff, the concession stand and so forth. In the actual baseball lease agreement, you will see what all belongs to each one. The city does the mowing in the off-season, the outer field all the time, maintains the insurance, pays the cost of the utilities, and I might add, by the way, they do all the cleaning of the restrooms and we supply all the stuff for that. And the Baseball Association, where is it up at the top there? It said it's a public park owned by the city, of course. The benefits is to, for the form of public improvement and utilization. They get the gate fees, and if they can rent out the field. So, we can't make charitable donations. So, in order to, help the Baseball Association, we pay them $2,000 a year for that mowing and the work that they do down there. So what we need is an approval of that $2,000. It's in effect.
I make a motion that we approve or accept it.
Okay, so motion by Isla to accept this, this accounting of money is basically what it's buying as part of the lease. I have a second?
I'll second.
By Arlene. Okay, Larry?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Arlene?
Yes.
And Isla. Okay, so that's taken care of, and we can issue that. Check. Okay. There is a kennel license that was applied for by Jennifer Johnson and Crystal Hostler. So it was a unique situation. They have more than 3 dogs, and in the process that they're coming to license those dogs, and whatever they found out, that we have a city ordinance that says if you have more than 3 dogs or 3 cats, that you should register as a kennel. And in order to do that, you need to pay a fee. And they said that they had called the city ahead of time because they knew that existed in some cities. And before they moved here, they were told that there was no such thing, there was no problem with that. So, I believe that the mayor has the right to abate those fees, even if they are within with the council, to ask for the abatement of. So I am asking the council to abate those fees tonight, and let these gals take care of the dogs, because there's probably a lot of places in town that got more than 3 dogs or 3 cats. And if we want to do something about it, then we need to look at some ordinances to make it right. But I think this is like is it $50? So that's pretty exorbitant. So I would ask the council, please, to allow me to abate that fee. They've done everything. The dogs are licensed and they've got them secure.
I'll make a motion that you abate the fee.
Okay. So motion by Isla. Anybody want a second? Or you want more information?
I'll second it.
Okay, Larry, second. This may have been kind of a surprise because I didn't realize it was going to be on here either first. So, Don,
Yes.
Arlene,
Yeah.
Isla,
Yes.
and Larry.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and by the way, they also had to get signatures from the neighbors, right? That was no problem, that they knew they were there, and that was no problem. So, Kelly Hodson is possibly he's in the process of thinking about building a building for seniors 55 and over. He's thinking about using that cul-de-sac area on Luella Street, and we've been kind of talking about whether we might want to put a street through there, or how the water and sewer and everything's right there at the street, so whether they would do one hookup or if they'd want to take some back in. That's all in the process, but he just asked, I almost had these right there by the doors today. He had just asked that I would get this information out, so there's a packet for everybody. Yeah, just take one and pass them on, and then there's some here that the public can get if they want. So I don't know if I want to say a whole lot about that. But he couldn't be here. He was going to talk about it, but he couldn't be here. So I told him I'd get the material out to you. Okay, we have another special hearing about the 1 and 6. Again, I'm back to that. Did we hear anything?
They just forwarded all the necessary paperwork. It's just a change in the law. It's the same thing we did in the spring. We didn't change the plan. We just have to jump through the hoops again.
Okay, so those are in your packet.
There is a resolution.
Okay, I thought Steve was gonna be here then. So, that one's done. Okay, the notice is that, given that a 6-year road and street plan, as required, has been recommended for approval by the mayor and city council, that a public hearing be held on said 6-year road and street plan on the 7th day of October. And so that's where we are. So that's our notice. If there's any complaints, this is a public hearing open. If there's anything anybody wants to say about any of the road work that was presented earlier, I think Steve had pointed out some of the intersections that needed work, and it went along quite a bit with what was on last year's 26. Is that right, Larry? There wasn't a whole lot of change. And it seems like that I've been on here 2 years, it seems like those same intersections keep coming up. And so they're probably something we're gonna wanna look at. Right? Do you guys have anything you wanna say about any of that? Mr. McNally, you know anything about what
Well,
we're supposed
I
to
might
do?
say that this can be changed any time during the course of the year. This isn't something that the city is bound to do.
Exactly.
This just shows what the plan is for this coming year and for the 6-year period. Now, when the conditions change, they change the 1-year plan to the 6-year plan. But the statutes, once they have, you adopt the plan, show what you're going to do for your city streets during the course of the year.
So basically, all we have to do is ask for a motion to adopt this plan.
Actually, the motion would be to introduce and move for passage a resolution adopting the 1 and 6-year plan.
Is that resolution in here? Okay, there's her. And the plan goes on down several pages. And there's that 1 and 6, there's all your there's all your intersections again. And roads. So, that's the notice. Okay, the resolution. The following resolution was introduced by, so I need somebody to move to adopt. Okay, I need somebody to make a motion to adopt this resolution. Or do we do that after we come out of here? Do we do it here? We open the hearing.
Oh, yeah.
So we do it within that hearing.
You can close the hearing and ask for a motion to do that.
Okay, if nobody's gonna say anything, let's close that hearing and move on. Anybody gotta make a motion for adopting it?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Okay. Okay. Kathleen, you have copies, you can get the roll call vote on.
I'll second it.
So Arlene, motion and Don seconded. And roll call vote, then we'll start with Larry,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Arlene,
Yep.
and Dyla. Oh no, this is right there. sorry about that. You didn't have any background because you didn't have, you know, I didn't get anything. I couldn't get it to you. So, the affidavit, does that have to be done? Okay, got that. Resolution,
So you need to do it one picture plan.
this resolution,
Well, we just did.
two of them in here, okay. Sorry. Okay, let's do the. what's that? We'll get them through the pile. Okay,
That's the next one.
Shall we need a resolution number on that last one?
10-7-19.
10-7-19. Okay, now I need to get back to my. Okay, that takes us down to, I'm gonna go into the unfinished business here. We're gonna walk through this, the water deposit increase and the delinquent accounts. And then at number 6, the mandatory garbage. We've talked about these all before. We're putting all that together and we're gonna have to now write a resolution that's cover all of those with utility billings. And we're gonna address that at our next meeting, which is next week. Because we'll have the resolutions and everything ready, okay? Y'all got that? Number 1, the water deposit increase and delinquent accounts and all that regulation. And number 6, the mandatory garbage will all go into the utility billing resolution, which Mr. McNally will prepare for next week's meeting. Okay? The employee handbook, number 5. Arlene has some things that she wants us to look at. Again, we want to show Mr. McNally some things and work on that, so we'll take that up again Monday at that meeting. Number 4 is the Cedar Knoxboro water rate increase. I talked with Larry today so we can get a better handle on what we're using for the city. And because we have a substantial increase in rates and we need to address that immediately. But we need to we can't do it twice, so we need to make sure that it's up where it will cover. The Cedar Knoxboro water has, see if I can find this on the, I'm not seeing it. But it's gonna go up as an overall flat fee is going up and then per gallon is going up. So it's obvious that there's a lot of water that's paid for by the city in the parks, fire hall, etc., that the city pays for, but in fact can't pay for without revenue. So that all comes out of the utilities revenue. So we have to get the rates up to where that will cover that. So we could go up per gallon, but we've got to cover those gallons that are used by the public, general public. So we're in the process of that, and Larry's getting some more information, and we'll take care of that next Monday with some more help from Mr. McNally. He's got a lot of work to do for us before Monday. Want to do one more fast before we get into some of this other. Go down to the new business. I know I'm skipping around on the agenda. I did some quick research, and as long as we don't make that a formal agenda where we approve the agenda, that's legal. So, the approval of hiring the state to do the upcoming audit. Okay?
I might make a comment.
Okay.
You don't have to have the state do it. You can have an independent auditor do it
Yep.
if you want to. It wouldn't hurt just to see what they would charge to do that. The state estimates that it's gonna cost $20,000 to do it. If you get an independent auditor to do it for less, you might be well advised to at least try that 1 year.
So we can put this off till next week too, and I can do some calling with some, because we've been kicking around the idea of having a part-time accountant work with some of our funds anyway. So, when we did this at this time last year, there was another person who bid, and their bid was, I don't even remember, but it was higher than what we came in at with the state. And I favor the state because they've been doing it for 3 years and they know us pretty well. So when I called down there, that they knew me by name.
That's good and bad.
That's good. I know that's good and bad, but you have to know whether they smile when they say hello or whether they don't, maybe, I don't know. But yes, that is a consideration. So I just wanted to bring that up. So I have the paperwork that shows us what they've proposed. I think I got that out to all of you. And we can see if anybody else is interested. We'll put the word out. That covers everything on the agenda except the Omaha Street and the Northside Acres. So let's get to those. So Northside Acres was the meetings that we had. Larry, you can jump in here anytime, but the meetings we had was with Ronnie Moore and the possibility of doing some research out there. He gave us a quote of $7,500. And that he would come in and kind of finish up, because he and Timmy Goebel and his, whatever that group is, were these surveyors. Because they are Croftonites and they wanted to help, they gave us what I thought was a very reasonable bid. And they would see what they could do about taking care of water problems, finding ways in. If we're gonna get access and sell that land, then we have to have a road into it. We have been informed that Highway 121 is going to be worked on by the state. We had talked about the possibility of coming in off of that corner up there that goes around that property. And if we're gonna do something up there with the 3-lane, and Ron's already talked to them some. So now's when we need him working, if we're gonna do something to work with the state to see about that highway. Okay? We can't sell the land until it's platted. So it's sitting there, we're making money on it, but it's still sitting there. Yeah, go ahead.
If that's $7,500, will that then be plotted where you can sell?
That's right,
land?
that's what we're talking
Or you already know somebody who wants to buy a little bit of it? You know, could that pay for some of that $7,500? If not most of it?
Well, it depends on what they want. I don't know.
Yes, you do. You know. Can I say the name? I don't know if I...
No.
Sir, he just told me tonight that somebody was interested. I don't know any details.
I got something to say. I talked to the individual tonight. I asked him what he's looking for. He says, I don't know. I gotta know what your price is. And I said, how many acres you look? He says, I don't know.
The point I'm trying to make is that if you sell just a little bit of it, could possibly say
It could pay the 75.
pay for most of the $7,500.
Okay. He's got to, first thing we got to do is we got to plot it, and which Mr. Knorr is.
But that puts it, but that plot, that's where you're at.
That's where he's just sitting on it until we approve to give him $7,500 to finish it. We got to plot it, and then we got to register it in the courthouse and center, which we do not have.
I'm
So
on your
right now we
side,
got a piece
so
of
don't always think I'm against you.
Well, you
Got
said, I
plenty to be
know,
against
you
you.
know, you
But
said,
I'm not
I know
always.
about it, I don't know about it.
Okay, Dan, just hang on. We talked about half-acre lots, we've talked about 1-acre lots, and we've talked about 3-acre lots at this meeting with Ron North. We have to decide how we want to divide this thing up. We also got to divide where, we got to lay this thing out like it's going to happen, but it's not. We just need to get it plotted, and register at center so we have it done.
Somehow, this thing went haywire. I'm trying to say for $7,500, you can get most of your money back by doing this.
Sir, I agree with you. I begged for that to be done the last time it came up. $75, is almost nothing.
Now, the next step,
But let me say this, he also, in that process, he would also be doing the research that tells you the flow of the water and what could be done in that whole process. And he would even be talking to the sewer plant, which would give us a full go-ahead if we wanted, if it needs to be developed. They've already talked to him, they said, your capacity will be fine. So all of that paperwork is legal stuff that has to be done before you can do this, okay? So that's all gonna be in there, and thank you.
my point here is there's nothing wrong with knowledge,
No,
especially if you can get that knowledge for cheap or free.
yes, I agree.
But if you go forward and start developing Northside Acres,
It's not gonna happen.
okay,
Not gonna happen. All we're gonna do is
Nobody
get it
plans to
plotted.
develop that.
We're gonna get it plotted and registered. Then, if we got interested parties that want to buy parcel
then
of
you can start
ground.
thinking about it.
But see, you have to have a plan,
Okay, I'm done.
you know,
I'm
yeah.
done. We're wasting
And
time.
no, and I want people to know that, you have to have a plan for out there. So originally, that was planned for 3 to 4 acres. And the reason was because that was big enough to have septic tanks and wells. Well, we don't want septic tanks and wells out there anyway. So, so then we want to get them into smaller areas, smaller plots, so that, whatever does happen can,
What you need is a plat and dedication.
Yep.
So you can file at the courthouse, and then everybody has to abide by the lot lines and
Right.
whatever else there is.
Right. And see, that's, I think there was those two places that were already sold out there, apparently were sold under the county. Is that right, Mike? So that was before that was even platted. And so they're kind of off. They're not really even the same size as the rest of it. So there's some work to be done, but those professionals who could do it are the ones to do it. So, Larry, were you ready for a vote tonight to move ahead with Mr.?
Ms. Denning's got a question.
Oh, yes.
Shouldn't you look at annexing it before you spend any money on it?
So what would,
Because once you sell it, it's harder to annex.
okay, so what would the advantage be?
Then we have that tax base.
But we own it, so we're not gonna get any taxes out of it. I mean, we'd have,
But I'm saying before you plat it to sell, before you sell anything, wouldn't you want it annexed first?
I
You don't have to annex anything but what you own. You don't have, I know that there are people that don't want to be annexed, but if we own it, why not annex it?
Don't you think we first gotta get our plot set and registered at the
That's
courthouse?
a legal question, I don't know, but I'm just
see,
saying,
my thing is,
don't sell it before you annex it,
No, nobody's
is what
planning.
my thing is.
Nobody's planning on doing anything until we get that thing registered at the,
I know, but there's someone
but your
interested.
thought is because it's harder to annex it? Is that what you're saying? Because people would fight it? Is that the idea? So what does it take to annex?
An ordinance.
I don't remember the whole thing, there's
An
a,
ordinance.
All we have to do is make an ordinance to annex it. They can't do anything about it.
Well, they say it's not property that can be annexed, but if it is the way the city is growing and it's got development out there, if you want to, you can annex it.
Okay.
Is there a difference in how the taxes go? I'm just asking.
Well, like I said, we wouldn't gain anything on property tax because we own it, right?
That's correct.
Okay, let me ask you this then. If you annex it, do you have,
Say what?
if you annex it, do you have to develop it?
No.
No.
And right now, we're making rent money.
But if the city owns it, they would be the one to have it platted out.
Right.
Say how big the lots are,
Right.
where the streets are, where the alleys are, the lot lines.
Yeah.
And so if you've got an area you want to develop, then you need to talk to an engineer to prepare a plan for it.
And that's what Ronnie Moore's offered to do for $7,500 on 26 acres.
Sounds like a bargain.
It's a bargain. And in that, he would talk about water control, where the road might be, where the lot lines would be, where the whole issue with the water drainage on the east side, and all of that. And again, communication with the sewer people to say that if we did want to make streets and houses, and would they okay that it was not there? That's what started our whole thing with the sewer in the first place, was developing Sharon Street and having to get a permission from the sewer. And they said, it's nothing wrong with the capacity, just the maintenance of it, or just the condition of it. So it's kind of all tied into that whole thing. So I would like to ask for the board to approve the hiring of Ronnie Noor. He told me he was about done with his other projects, so this fall's about as good a time as he's gonna have for any time.
I'll make a motion to continue with this plotting of the north side acres from Ronnie Noor.
I'll second.
Okay, and that constitutes hiring him to do that. Yes, okay. Motion by Larry and seconded by Arlene. So roll call, Isla,
Yes.
Arlene,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
and Larry.
Yes.
Okay. The next one, and the reason these are on unfinished business, of course, is because we've talked about these several times. So the next one is Omaha Street, and the concerns down there was the water, the surface water, and the underground water. So Larry, you took over on that.
Okay, each one of you board members now has got a plan. If somebody wants to take this one, I have another one if you want to look at what I'm gonna do here. If not, that's fine. There's a drain on Omaha Street by Stan Ewing and Randy Leader. And this last spring, and I have property on that street too, on the north side. There's about like 10, maybe 11 people that are on that street that this is not gonna affect anything. That manhole by Stan Ewing, instead of going south with the drainage, we'll shut that off and we'll put a hole on the east side of that manhole and put a piping next to Omaha Street, not disturbing Omaha Street, just that ditch right next to it, and bring it down past Mark Hagee's to that intersection down there, and continue underneath that road. I think it's 5th Street, and then from there goes to Leroy Walters' line to the fence line of Doc Carlson and adjoining the elevator. And then it would follow the fence line south of the Doc Carlson Street into that ditch next to the elevator and come down. We go to the east into the fence line and come back down and go into that smoke signal drainage pod right there, and then it'll follow the natural creek line that it's supposed to. How this all cured is I've lived here all my life. All those houses weren't there, and the water would go naturally, and there was no road back there built up like the elevator has today. So we've had constricting on where this water was gonna go. It's not gonna affect anything but just take the water from the standpipe on the north side and the south side of those people's property and run in a tube under the ground, underneath the street. We got to cross down there by the intersection of Omaha and 5th. There's a bad culvert that just collects water constantly. It's just a mess down there. The water don't drain no place. So we were gonna dig up that line and that culvert, put a new one in, put a drain, bigger drain hole on the north side of Omaha Street, connect it with the one going east, and then go south a little ways, because there's a collection point right there that the water just sits there and gets stagnant. Take them two and go into that Omaha Street and go underneath that 5th Street and then continue it around down to the Ponca, I don't know what you want to call it, it's just a dry pod, I guess is what you want to call it. And I've talked to Mr. Carlson, and he wouldn't have no problem going along his fence line. I talked to Derek from the elevator, told him what was going on here, and he seemed to be, they have a culvert underneath that elevator road there that collects a lot of water and drains into Mr. Carlson's property. And Mr. Carlson's still a little upset what the city did, and this was when one of the past mayors, I think Homer Hillflecker was involved, and he I don't know how you want to say it politely, but he gave Mr. Carlson a kind of a good messing up, and Mr. Carlson don't like it. So he's pretty upset, and I talked to him. So I have two estimates here, and they're from Todd Taney. It's the only guy that I know that can looked at this and gave me a quick estimate. One is from Stan Ewing's drain hole down to past 5th Street, almost to Mr. Carlson and Leroy's fence there. That come up to be $22,435.80. Now, I talked to Derek from the elevator, and he said he would go half from that.
I didn't say half. I said we need to see what the price is.
Well,
first
I
before
was talking
say
about
it.
half. I didn't know what the price was either.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I-
okay? I'm sorry, I misunderstood you, but
No, I'll.
the price from that, because we're going with a 2-foot drain line, because we're gonna be adding a lot of water coming from your culvert and collecting everything from the city coming down. The price for that, because it's a 2-foot, and the distance would be $32,576.37. Now, this is just a proposal. This is, we had a bad spring, and I'm on that street too. It was terrible. I've never seen it like that in 60 years. Not saying it's gonna happen again. The people down, Mr. Hagee, and I think, and Arns lives in that next to him, they had everybody's water, and nobody did anything wrong. Nobody did anything wrong. It's just Mother Nature decided to do that much water and that much, and it happened. So all I'm trying to do is, we can't stop anything come from the sky, but we can take that water and contain it and get it down to the natural. It comes down through this creek down here, goes across, and goes out past Leon Wakely's and that down there where I think the phone company owns that property. Am I correct? So that's what we got. So I guess this is what I have as a preliminary thing. Anybody wants to look at the sketch? I have another one up here. Pretty simple. It's not an architectural thing, but we don't need to pay $20,000 for an architect to come and tell us that water's got to go to the east.
Engineer, not an architect. I would like Mr. McNally to make comments on anything that is involved with legal about if we are not changing waterways.
Well, the law says you can't divert water off of your property onto somebody else's property, but you can divert the water back into its natural flow. And so if that's what you're doing, there's no problem with it.
And we're just containing the water. The abundance of water, not saying anything else, but just the excess water. See if we get another spring like we had this last year. That's all we're doing. We're taking, so nobody has to rip out their cartridge for the next.
Well, the low spot is actually like below the elevator, right? On the north
It's in my
side.
pit.
On the north
I
side.
clean it out every weekly.
But see,
Say
before-
that again.
It's in my pit. So I clean it weekly, so
But see,
I'm
that-
fighting water year round.
But that, before that road was there, and I was a kid, I used to play back there, there was no road, and the water just went down that road basically and dispersed that way. That's how it was.
So what's that gonna do to your road though, if you go through on the south side there?
They won't do anything to the road. The road's gonna stay there. It's just gonna come down by the fence line.
That's gonna be in a tube.
Yeah.
It's gonna go underground, so you're gonna put underground tube in there all the way?
He's gonna take a laser and make sure it drops, and he's gonna put dirt over the top of it so it don't
But
get
it's
blown
an
away.
underground tube,
He's
is
gonna
what
put-
you're saying.
He's gonna put rebar so it can't get out of place when it's interlocking, so there's no way it can come apart.
So it's that, but it's gonna go not in the intersection, but to the south of that intersection, right?
Well, there's a couple, if you look north of,
I am, Larry, but what I'm saying is, if you went straight through that intersection, you'd be on Leroy Walter.
Right, and we are.
But you told me that tube's going on the south side.
Underneath the road, underneath this is two.
On the south side of the trees, so you're gonna have to go south.
Well,
there,
between the
right?
fire hydrant and those trees, wherever it is. The fire hydrant from Leroy's property.
Okay.
If you look straight from Omaha Street, that's.
So that's still below that road then?
Yeah.
That's still, but,
His road is lower, his road is higher than what we're doing right now. He don't have to worry about his road getting washed
okay,
out.
so that's not gonna make any difference on his road. But doesn't that get into Carlson's?
Well, we're gonna be on the south side of his fence line in his ditch that he made for a road. And if you go on that road, you can see there's a
Okay.
3-foot drop
Yeah, we put a dike up there
to stop the chemicals or whatever.
15 years ago,
Yeah.
you know, and with that being said, is like anything else, we've got to tear it back out and redo it, because what it did to us is when we did it, it backed all the water up.
To you guys.
You know, so my road is deteriorating, I need to rebuild it back up, you know, so when I'll put a dike back in there, but it's not gonna be to the extreme as what we had earlier, and so I try to keep it flowing all the way down.
So then the next thing, and then we talked about this earlier tonight, Larry, is to make sure that the Palmer Tribe does it. You have to.
I gotta talk to them, yeah.
And we need I can give you that bill.
Okay.
It's its name, a number. I worked with him when we did that parking lot over there.
The only major line we have to cross is down on Omaha on Fifth. There's a natural gas line, and Todd Janey knows that, and he had locate coming there. There's a telephone line that runs on the south side of Omaha Street, and he knows that, and he talked to Nick, I think, and he said he had no problem putting that tube going along there. And there's plenty to drop off that road that we can, you know, if the grade is right, we can go in and put dirt over the top of that.
And that won't affect the road going up to the gas company or the elevator
No.
there. It won't affect either road.
Yep.
You can cross the water line and sewer line too,
Yeah, on that, right.
right, just off the Leroy's.
Yeah, I know that's down, I knew that's down there too, but the major one was that gas line I was concerned about.
Water and sewer just blows up the water and sewer, the gas will blow them up, so.
Gas goes boom. So that's what I
They're
got
just
for,
worried about the one that
this
blows.
is just an estimate right now, and I know it's over 20,000, we're gonna have to go out for bids, and he knows that just as well. I told him about it tonight, and he brought it in to me at 10 after 6.
You don't have to put it up for bids unless you're going to assess the cost of it to the adjacent
I
property.
don't plan on assessing nothing, because I live on that street too.
So you can get the.
Well, but that's the city has to decide if they can pay that.
I know.
We probably are not
I
gonna.
know that.
So how-
I said that.
So how you gonna pay for it?
That's the reason I said that. Well, I put in pocket change. I don't know if I can do that.
You got that much pocket change, you guys?
You might have it.
Ask Dolores is down there too. Ask her if she wants to chip in on that with you there, Larry.
Dolores, does that sound like it's not gonna affect anybody on
I'm just here to listen.
I know, but I came up with a plan that's simplest and nobody's gonna bother nobody. It's just gonna be taking water and getting it out of there so we don't have a problem. That's the easiest way I can see it happening. I don't know if we're gonna have another March flood.
Do you have water behind your houses there?
Yes.
How far back? Is it
10
coming off of
Tree
that?
line.
Does it come in off of that south property? Or is it just kind of there?
Not very often, unless you get a really, really heavy rain. But it's usually just, it comes from,
Comes from Ron
The
Stone's
west.
back there.
yeah.
Comes from the west down alongside that ditch?
Yep.
That used to be an old railroad grade, and Mr. Burback.
That must come through the whole bottom here of that. I mean,
Mr. Burback said raised it up 4 feet up.
front and back, it just kind of comes through that whole valley then. Because that is flat through all of there. See, the city land out there is always, that's where they're dumping in the middle of that. But where that tube from Ewing's goes out in the middle of that.
If there was a way we could raise all those houses 4 feet, we could do it. That's that Mr. Burback, and he's passed away, but he's the one that developed that area, and there's a railroad grade that should have been 4 foot higher than houses.
Hey, they should have put them up on stilts.
It should have. Well, they made everybody a
Well,
lot
then,
easier.
sit on it. So,
Well, get your best bid.
We need to get a hold of Ponca Tribe.
I will.
The only thing you gotta watch out for is that water's gotta go someplace.
Right.
If it goes on somebody else's property, then you might have some
Well,
problems.
if you look at it, and you gotta look at it during the daytime, when the Ponca fixed that mess up, that water came down right where that hole is right now and filtered right down to that ditch next to Highway 12 and goes underneath Highway 12 into our city park here. And it goes right down through here and it goes down past East Lot and it goes back by Zero's, right? On the other side of the road. That's where it's been ever since I was.
The problem is getting it to that place in the park without flooding the park and without flooding Carlson. And Carlson, he's got it both ways because he doesn't want it flooded, but he also said to me, but don't go in there and drain that because that's my sub-irrigation, see? So he doesn't want us to take it off later.
Mother Nature only do so much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, continue your work on that, Larry. That's,
Okay.
is there anything else anybody got or anything I'm missing?
Anybody else got a better idea? I'm open for suggestions how to do it.
I might not have been paying
What am I
attention.
missing?
Did you do your minutes and claims and stuff?
No, we haven't.
Not yet.
Okay.
Is there anything else on that? Okay. Yeah. That one we can handle later. We have minutes from the September 4th meeting. We have minutes from an amendment to the August 16th meeting, and we have minutes from the September 17th meeting and the 19th meeting. So we've had a lot of meetings, folks. So let's take them, let's start with September 4. Is there anybody who wants anything changed? Kathy, in that, like that third paragraph, it says phase 2 on that 61. I think that was phase 1. Can you?
Which one do you want?
On the September 4th meeting, it says approve or amend the minutes of August 5th. It goes clear back. I think that's a typo because the phase 1 was the 6100. Okay. And that doesn't mean anything, but other, we are still talking about some of that. I've got no problem with any of this. Everybody okay with the minutes for September 4? If so, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
It said, Councilman answering roll call, it's got Pam Harrison on there.
Yeah, do we need to just take that off? On all of those, we have Pam Harrison, it has absence. When I don't know if that's an issue.
Well, you should show up here and read it. That's it.
Well, yeah, once the resignation, just take the whole thing off.
She was there.
I'm fine with that.
She answered at the beginning.
Oh, but that one, yes, yes, but the other one,
Okay.
take it off. Okay.
You can make a motion to approve all of it at one time. That would then-
Okay. Anything else on those minutes? Then Don is pointing out that the minutes after that one, that we just take that roll call off of the SPAM on. And I'm asking you to change that phase 2 to phase 1. And I don't believe there was anything else. And so minutes for September 4, we already had it. August 16th. We already did that, didn't we? Okay. September 17th and September 19th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 4th, 17th, and 19th.
I'll second it.
Okay. Isla? Arlene,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
and Larry.
Yes.
Okay. And that should be it. We need to, we have those.
What should be written in minutes?
You guys have the claims? Arlene, do you have the claims? You have the copy of the claims? I don't have a copy. That's the one I picked up earlier. This was my packet cover. Yeah, portion of this. Thank you. That was that packet I picked up earlier. Okay. Anything there that's, that wants to talk about?
The KM, is that just quarterly or yearly payment? Or?
That, the 116,000 of the second phase is being paid in payments. Okay. And actually, I think that's two of them, isn't it, Kathleen?
Yes.
The first one, they didn't get out by the first of the month, so it had to be held over, so that's two payments, actually.
Two payments.
Yeah. You have a profit and loss. Oh, you have the special funds. You want to get that? So you have some time to look at those. We also did the profit and loss budget versus actual. You're going to see these changing because maybe kind of rapidly as we make some adjustments to all those water accounts and stuff. So those will all be straightened out by next week, hopefully. There's a balance sheet that gives you a pretty good idea there of what's going on with the fixed assets and the cash on hand and so forth. There's some real adjustments that that we just need an accountant to make some statements about, I think. And hopefully we'll be in, I want to be in good shape when the auditors come in. So, because that's having to pay in that much money. Our clerk books guys are willing to do some looking at some of that also.
Are you gonna approve the claims?
I think if everybody's had a chance to look at anything there, okay. Remember that, you know, our payments of utilities and payroll and stuff like that that we do every week is pre-approved by the resolution. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I would entertain that.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims to be paid October.
Okay. Yeah.
Is my books included in that for my water class so that can be paid?
I'm sure.
Just checking,
Yeah, $260.
so I can find out if I passed or not.
Oh, just. He's mad because I wouldn't pay it right away without approval. Because he wanted to know if he passed the class, and I said, if we didn't know that when he came home, we're in trouble.
If I can't pass the water class, then I'm not even going to the sewer class.
You knew you passed it. Okay, Larry made the motion. Arlene second.
I can't pass the water class.
So, starting with Don.
Yes.
Arlene.
Yes.
Isla.
Yes.
And Larry.
Yes.
And that is it. Now we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It's a long night.
before you do that, somebody can make a motion to hold a special meeting.
Yes, about that. Yeah, we can't just announce that. Usually we just announce the, so we need to have a motion to have a special meeting at 6:30 Monday. Okay, go ahead, Arlene. So Arlene makes a motion for a special meeting on Monday, the imminent date, 14th, at 6:30. And be sure we say special meeting, not emergency, okay? That emergency thing indicates that we only talk about one thing. And we will talk, we'll finish up some of these things, plus we will have all of that going on. Okay.
I'll second it.
Is it gonna be in here, or is it gonna be?
Yeah.
In the auditorium?
Yeah. We want, you know, a place where the public can come and take part in it. So Larry motioned and Don motioned, Arlene motioned and Larry seconded. Thank you. So Don,
Yes.
Arlene, and Isla, and Larry.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else on that? Then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Larry, second by Isla. Yeah. Don,
Yes.
Isla. We'll really mix it up. Arlene and Larry.
Yes.
All right.